What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. This week, we at last got the full list of games that are going to be on the PlayStation Classic, and it's pretty diverse. It's got stuff like Resident Evil and Oddworld, and it's a pretty decent selection. But honestly, I'm a little bit conflicted, because while this is an interesting gadget, for $100, I was hoping for some more actually classic games in the typical sense. So I started compiling a list of what I think are the really true classic games of this retro system. So today, I kind of wanted to talk about my very favorite PlayStation 1 games and the stuff that I wish so badly was on this device. So these are my picks of the top 10 games missing from the PlayStation Mini. Number 10. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. It's very rare that a game comes along that so perfectly manages to do so many different things at once. This is a sports game that makes every single detail of the action seem so epic, from pulling off big tricks to trying to balance a really long grind or accomplishing that next great goal to unlock the next map. It's one of those games where really, even if you don't fully understand how to do every single combo, you're still having such a blast with it. And on top of that, it has an amazing multiplayer mode that lets you play horse or tag or all sorts of great games. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is such a masterpiece that the fact that it wasn't included is still kind of baffling. Number 9. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. What we have here is the only 2D game on the entire list, but I had to include it despite the fact that it is so retro in style, simply because this is perhaps one of the best adventures ever created. This game is so artsy and cool, but on top of that, it has a really interesting story to tell. I've gone through this game probably 15 different times across every system it's been on, and it's always such a great experience, which is why I think that it so perfectly encapsulates why the PS1 was such a legendary console. Number 8. Gran Turismo 2. Trying to select a single racing game for this list was actually pretty tough because there's lots of different styles of good car games on this system. I mean, you've got more arcadey ones like Ridge Racer or this kind of game, which is much more simulation focused. It really lets you customize every single aspect of your car, from the gears to the engine to just how much horsepower you can crank out of every individual gear of your car. And that's cool. I mean, it's a kind of fun that you don't see anywhere else. Gran Turismo 2 is also something that I wish was on here, merely for the fact that it gives you so many hours of enjoyment. Number 7. Medal of Honor. I've always had a real soft spot for early 3D games on any system simply because I find the idea of the original programmers trying to figure out how to make things work in this new format so fascinating. And that's part of the reason that I think that Medal of Honor is such a great timepiece, because not only is it a great shooter, it's a cool experience to see how they managed to make things work, and the fact that it has all sorts of great Nazis to shoot, levels to explore, and an entire stealth section where you're actually undercover inside this evil embassy, it's really a testament to design. It's something that I feel like needs to be shown again, simply because I think that more people would really get a big kick out of it. Number 6. Mega Man Legends. At this point, the Blue Bomber has done pretty much everything over his decades-long career, from blowing up robots to defeating Dr. Wily and visiting almost every single corner of the globe. But to me, one of the times that really shines the most in his entire adventures is Mega Man Legends, because it feels so much like a retro RPG. It allows you to explore, customize your weapons, and eventually take on really giant, weird robots. And I like that about it. It's a little bit clunky, and the controls haven't aged the best, but it's still a testament to how good games of this era were. The fact that it's not on the PlayStation Classic really disappoints me. I wish this was here, because really I just want to see all these adventures in 1080p. Number 5. Final Fantasy VIII. As an ultra-hardcore RPG fan, you knew that I had to put at least one Final Fantasy on this list, but specifically, the reason I'm putting 8 here is because I feel like it's one that's just so completely overlooked now. We've got nice remakes of 7, 9, 10, I mean, basically all of them. Even 12 is coming to the Nintendo Switch, but Final Fantasy VIII is still left out in the cold, which is a shame because this really is a masterpiece. It's one of the most military-focused games and has a really heavy story in general, all about the cost of war and the battle, and it's just so freaking well written that the fact that it's not on this is crazy. Yes, we should totally keep Final Fantasy VII on there, but also give us 8. That would be so epic and the fans would eat it up. Number 4. Tomb Raider. There are obviously a few projects that are missing from the PlayStation Classic that are a little bit baffling, but none really sticks out more in my mind than Tomb Raider, since Lara Croft is somebody who basically established the PlayStation in the first place. These games are so tight, they have such good controls, and manage to have such good 3D puzzles and combat that leaving them out of the system is so completely mindless. This should have been there. Even though for this entry I'm by name mentioning the original Tomb Raider, I feel like any of the opening trilogy would have been perfect for this machine. The fact that they were left out is really downright shocking. Number 3. Crash Bandicoot Warped. If you've been subscribed to this channel for a while, I'm sure you've heard me hint here and there about the amazing impact that Crash Bandicoot had on me. These were some of the earliest PS1 games I ever got to try, and so because of it, they really ended up shaping how I pictured this console. It was a game that really was fun, but on top of that, it really kind of inspired me to think of things differently. The way that every single map was designed and gave you so many different hidden challenges within it. It gave you so many ways to try and go back through missions you'd already completed, only to try and figure them out in a different way. All the hidden paths, all of the unlockable skills. Crash Bandicoot Warped is nothing short of a masterpiece, and it's definitely by far one of my favorite 3D platformers ever. The fact that it's not on here is clearly just because they recently did a remake, but I feel like that's not a good enough excuse for completely leaving the Bandicoot out of this. Number 2. Grandia. Almost everything that's been mentioned so far in this video sold millions of copies and were giant blockbusters of their time period, but for Grandia, I'm putting this on here because it's a little bit more of a hidden gem. It's slightly more obscure, and I feel like these classic consoles honestly should have two objectives. One of them is to show you the best games of yesteryear, but also they should highlight the really cool stuff that's almost forgotten, and Grandia perfectly fits in that. It has one of the best battle systems of any game ever made, so it deserves to be put here just to make sure that it's getting the credit it deserves. This is such a great opportunity to finally bring Grandia more to the masses. Make it something that's just as famous as Final Fantasy. That would make it so epic, and it's definitely one of those games that I hope will be on a possible Classics Edition too. Number 1. Silent Hill. Let me just say real quick, before you have a chance to rush down to the comment section and yell at me for putting this game as number 1, it's all here because of a single reason, which is the fact that the original Silent Hill, in my opinion, is one of the best examples of atmospheric horror. It's really the first game that I ever played in my entire life that managed to establish this haunting sense of forebodance, where every single corner of this entire freaking city just seems so screwed. And I feel like it definitely deserves to come back for the mere reason that it's so freaking good it aged great. I mean, really, if you tried to sell this again right now, people would be lining up to buy it. This is a great chance to try and show that Konami isn't quite as evil as we all thought. Konami just seems so dedicated to trying to erase their early past. Give us a chance to love Silent Hill a second time. Bring it back, make us all happy, and also give a few chances for Konami to prove that they're not complete dumpster fires. I truly love this game from the bottom of my heart, and always will, and for that reason, I awarded this my pick as the number 1 game that's weirdly missing from the PlayStation Classic. Did your favorite retro game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Here's a dumb quick story. So you guys know I'm obsessed with Resident Evil. Well, did you know that as a kid, I was actually so poor that nobody in the entire neighborhood even had a game console except for this one older dude up the street. And he ended up buying a PlayStation and Resident Evil. And it was so spooky, I couldn't even play it. The bigger kids in the neighborhood were allowed to come over sometimes, and when they did, they'd actually play this, and I was so frightened, I'd literally watch until zombies showed up and then I'd cover my eyes. How freaking sad is that? Oh, hi. I'm just working on the next video. If you want to see what it is, go ahead and click this button and you can subscribe. Also, if you click these video links, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. Now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and wait for you to subscribe. Oh, I guess I could put on these giant glasses. I literally found these on a roller coaster.